Howdy, y'all. Welcome to Crusaders Chat. I'm Ammonisis, and we got here the wonderful Shade and the awesomely fantastic Sarf. And say howdy to all the viewers out there. I guess they're listeners.
Hello. I'm Shade.
I'm Sarf the Magnifico, who cannot make a fancy voice to save his life.
Sarf, your voice is just absolutely wonderful as is.
That's a nice sentiment, but...
Sarf, you do a terrifically imaginative Sarf voice. Really?
Yeah,
Best Sarf voice
it.
I've ever heard.
Pretty authentic Sarf voice, yeah. You'll hear none other like it.
It's really you.
I've been told I can sound like Elmer Fudd, or Baby Bear from Bear in the Big Blue House, if you were 3 once.
Those are things to put on your CV, if I've ever heard any.
Yeah. Elmer Fudd and Baby Bear, awesome.
That's how you get all your jobs, don't you, Sarf? I mean, you've been bragging about how quickly you picked up jobs.
Yeah. I don't know. I was thinking maybe it was just, the Sarf charm. You don't get the title The Magnifico for nothing, It's pretty...
Yeah, you have to type it in.
Actually, yeah.
Oh.
No, you're not just typing it in. I mean, a title like this, Ammonisis, a title like this is earned, not freely given.
Okay.
I thought it was completely self-appointed.
If you say so.
No. There's an organization for this type of thing.
Oh, really?
See, now, if you decided one day, rather than being slightly Shade, you wanted to be the entire Shade, now, this is the organization you have to go through. I've got a certificate and everything.
Well, actually, I went, retro minimalist, because I started off the whole Shade, and then the name was taken on the side, and I had to improvise, and what better way to improvise than to alliterate? So that's how it became because I could have gone super Shade. That's between super.
That's too much.
It would have been okay if it was like the 60s or something, but no. What else?
Fabulous, the fabulous
we have
Shade?
Sexy Shade. It's not full of myself. People already assume I'm a girl half of the time as it is, so if I do sexy Shade, it's like,
Alright.
What was the one you suggested, Sarf?
I was going to say the fabulous Shade, but, it doesn't have quite the nice ring to it as the sexy Shade, or even, the scandalous Shade. Ooh.
I got one. For all of our friends of existentialism and Nietzsche out there, he could be the Uber Shade.
Ah!
That is great, but it doesn't alliterate. It defeats the entire point here.
How about the Kafka Shade, where you wake up as a horrible mutant insect creature?
How about no? No.
Ha!
Now you derailed my thought train. Well, that's okay. You won't miss it.
Going off the rails on
Ammonisis, you've been doing this since we started. Enough! you gotta draw the line somewhere, and enough is enough, man. We've done it like right here. Times. Every time somebody says, "Oh my goodness, I've lost my train of thought," and then, oh no, it's off the rails.
That's why we have to keep, in mind that we don't say that. It's my fault. I'll take full responsibility for this because Ammo, he's not quite with it enough to be able to do that. So
I'm insatiable.
Copyright laws have sued us so many times. I've had to give up my left kidney. So think about that.
Only your left kidney. I had to give up both. I'm currently on dialysis.
Well, that's lovely.
Well, at least you have a liver, and your left pinky.
Okay, that's true.
See, I was going to ask about you guys' days, and now this is a great lead-in.
Yeah, I don't know. My day was relatively kidneyless, but...
You went
a day
without kidneys?
I went a day without kidneys.
Yeah, how was it?
I felt pretty yellow, but...
That's just a jaundice kicking in. No biggie.
But seriously, that was your day?
That was no.
Well, try harder, man. This is high quality radio.
What do you want from me? I mean,
radio.
I got up. I did things I can't talk about on this radio, and then.
Now, if you come to Crusaders Chat after dark, we'll give you the full details.
No, we're not like that.
Oh, yes. Now, people will give you a short amount of time to just imagine the scene. Think about it.
Now you're taking it to... I think I got up and I went back to sleep. And then I got up again, and then I had a shower, and then I was off to work, and I was off to work for 6 hours today. So, relatively
while you were in
eventful.
the shower, were you naked in the shower?
Well, of course, it was in the shower. Scandal!
Now, people, think about that for a moment. Sarf naked.
Oh, my.
Let's not go down that road. Let's, you know... Amonisis, how was your day?
It was actually kind of crappy, to be honest. I was supposed to meet someone at a local Starbucks here.
Ooh,
I'll just kind of chat up, meet each other, figure out what's happening. She never showed up at all. So, I've been kind of feeling a little off from that. However, I'm feeling better than I did before, given the amount of shenanigans and butt hattery that I've been throwing around. So, I'm going to ride this awesomeness to its max, you know?
That sounds delightful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ride the wave of positive feelings, man.
Were you just stood up, or was there a good excuse? I just discovered
she never talked back to me. So, like, after I went home and I tried to message her, she never responded. So I don't know what the heck that was about. Whether she had to cancel or she couldn't access her internet, I don't know. But we did have a set plan for today, and she did not show up. So
there's two possibilities: either she's dead, or she's a chicken.
Well,
she couldn't handle the Amonisis, man. I mean, you got to understand. There's a lot to take in. You can't do that all at once. You got to take it in steps. Whoa! That was a bit
Did you just say something about
PG-13 radio?
Wow, what you just said was amazing, Sarf. I never thought you'd have the guts to say that on this show. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that I'm seriously impressed.
Why are you impressed?
I didn't see it coming. That's just why I'm impressed. So that's an impression. Yeah. My day was kind of lousy too. Lots of drama.
So you woke up, you stirred the cheese around, you made some pancakes, you started up the windmill, put on your wooden shoes, and went down to the corner to smoke some weed, right?
And smelled the tulips on the way there.
Right.
At the start of it, I thought, you were, describing me as just, slightly exaggerated, a pancake. But then I realized, oh, no, it's the Dutch stereotype. And you left out the brothel again.
I left out the brothel. I'm sorry.
How can you leave out the brothel? That's the most important thing.
I didn't leave out the brothel because he lives in the brothel.
No, I was in the
And, stirring the cheese is just a euphemism for sex.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, is this a special episode where we talk about it?
No, let's not go into that.
Sarf, there's something going on. I noticed something about you, Sarf. Did you notice something about Sarf?
A little bit.
500% increase in euphemisms is very suspicious, Sarf.
Oh, no.
A bit of promiscuity there.
Is anything new in your life, Sarf?
I would think so, actually, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Maybe that's something I can really talk about on our public radio station, but...
Does it involve making cheese?
Yes, it involves making cheese. Lots and lots of cheese.
Yeah.
Does it involve making stomach pancakes?
No! Well... that could be taken two ways. See, I'm thinking either pregnant stallions or another sexual euphemism that I'm not going to utter.
It's that one.
The one that we don't talk about.
A Pinkie Pie just fell on my head. This is something that happens sometimes.
Pinkie Pie fell on your head?
Yeah, Pinkie Pie.
So she just dropped in through, her dimension into yours right on top of your head. She should say hi to us on the channel. I bet she'd love to speak with us today.
Well, I'd love to do that, but, my Pinkie voice, I'm a few octaves not high enough. So today we have a great topic. It's a Zen topic. We don't have a topic.
Yeah, exactly. One of those episodes.
Best topic there is.
last minute changes, I decided we're going to kind of postpone things because we were going to have our MLP Chant special. But I've been so busy this week, like, I haven't even updated last week's episode yet. So that should happen soon.
Here's a PSA. Actually, it's not quite a PSA. It's more like a job offer. We need roadies. You have an endless amount of time on your hands or hooves.
Well, you don't need endless amount of time. What we need right now is someone that can upload our videos onto YouTube. Onto YouTube every week, and then, maybe kind of go onto Tumblr, our Facebook page. We have a Twitter page as well, since I haven't actually touched that in months. But someone that can kind of go on there and maybe talk about things, bring up stuff every now and then, advertise for us, basically just general stuff, because I don't have the time to do it anymore. Obviously, I've moved out of my parents' house and I'm working a full-time job, and I don't have the time to really spend on...
So,
we will also accept applications for groupies as well.
Yeah, we're looking for those.
But we are looking at a minimum of 16 years experience in PR management. So, do please...
As long as you can spell and you can understand basically how to upload onto YouTube, you're good enough.
Oh.
Also, several recommendations from Harvard University.
A minimum of, 8 years accounting experience, a bachelor's degree in economics.
We also require a Purple Heart and a Medal of Honor.
We do?
Well, I don't know. I just threw that in there.
I think my heart's red. Let me check. Yeah.
You're so random, Memo.
Yeah, thank you. It's what I do.
I can't help but keep staring at your icon. Like, come on, we have to try to be radio personalities. Stop distracting me with your face.
With my face.
You don't like the face of Napa?
Oh, is that a name? Okay, good.
Yeah, that's the name of the character who is now Apple Bloom in my picture.
It's an interesting picture. So,
Vegeta,
let's discuss something.
Stop it.
Kind of on the topic of modern day events. Obviously, there's a lot going on in the U.S. government and things like that with the NSA and Mr. Snowden. So I want to hear. We're a talk show. We can talk about this type of stuff, and we don't have to deal with the U.S. government. Hopefully, isn't going to come down on us. Shade, I want to hear your opinion. I'm assuming that I guess, the gist of what's happening right now.
Well, it's kind of interesting what's going on. But what I'm interested in, actually, is we have our on-the-ground reporter, we sent over our finance reporter to the United States of America to give a field report. So, Emma, how is the weather today?
What was that again? You're breaking up. What? I can't hear you over all the things happening at once.
There's hurricanes everywhere. I just saw 3 people flying past me.
Flooding.
Which way is
left?
left?
Been eaten off by dogs.
Where's my hand?
Oh, there it is, floating down the river.
Making pancakes. Oh no, not that.
So, Amonice, tell me, how do you feel about having no privacy whatsoever?
Well, I always assumed I had no privacy whatsoever, so I feel pretty much the same.
Yeah? No extra opinions on that? Don't feel angry anyway?
I can understand why everyone's angry. I mean, it is an invasion of privacy. It's just one of those things that I always sort of assumed was happening, so... I just don't really have strong opinions on that. And with all the crap that I've talked about, I feel generally okay because no one has broken in my house yet and taken me away. Yet.
See, I'm not really shocked either. Is anybody actually shocked? What? They're invading our privacy under some sort of weird circle jerk nonsense reason that's so backwards it makes no sense.
And the funny thing is,
completely messes up the entire foundation of the country and the modern world. But It's okay because there was a legitimate concern. If there's some jerkface somewhere on the planet, it's okay.
See, and the funny thing is, even though, yeah, it's really not that surprising. I mean, let's think of the history of such governments and that level of power. The funny thing is, there was an interview last week with President Obama, and he basically flat out said, this is the quote, "There is no domestic spying program." And he said that this was last week.
Well, I have a reasonable amount of respect for Obama for two reasons. He's a nerd, and he can skateboard, and I just like the combination of the two things. But you have to keep in mind that he's basically the less crappy president. And that's kind of the most you can hope for, because
less crappy as opposed to...
Well, you kind of have to put out the fire before you can redecorate.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's sort of on the way there. And what I'm saying is he is a politician, and I'm not even saying that he's actually even in the loop of all this nonsense. But
right.
Assuming he is, he has to make the politically correct, or so the wrong answers, and he has to have a certain amount of manipulation skills in order to even get a chance at being president. That's sort of how the system is set up. So that's how messed up it is. Because in the land of the free, if you happen to be not religious and gay or something, you can forget that. And it's a nice combo breaker to have someone, a brown person president, the world will change. Yeah, but, there are a lot of brown people voting. So it's not that revolutionary. It's a start,
but... huge shock to the GOP last election.
See, now, the interesting thing is, maybe what a lot of people don't really understand, is that with the U.S. government, their system, the president, with a lot of decisions that the government makes, the president is really only a face. All he does is just, make the speeches that,
Well, that's why there are multiple elections.
Oh, we just lost up. So, like I said, he's really only a face that kind of says things that are written on a script in a lot of scenarios. The amount of say that I think he gets is very little. Especially when you think about the NSA,
That's why there are also elections for the House Representatives, etc., 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 Congress and all the other fancy chambers where people with fancy suits gather and eat expensive meals.
Yep.
And talk about possibly in the future perhaps implementing some new policies that are a fraction different than the previous ones. And as such, as you say, the president is not everything. But I do believe the president has a fair amount of influence, and especially when it comes to selling the country. President is quite important, because if you notice, since Obama became president, in America, even not a whole lot changed initially, but the view, the opinion of other countries and people living, like in Europe, for example, of America changed significantly. It's like not just because the president is not a total douche. It's also kind of like, oh, hey, those complete idiots apparently managed to not pick the worst candidate this time. It's quite refreshing. Maybe there's something happening, and there is something happening, of course, because the generations that are coming, each generation that comes now is more progressive.
How long has President Obama been in power? 4 or 5 years?
It's
2013 right now, so about 5 years.
5 years? There you go.
I thought it was like 7 or something.
The NSA, the estimates I've seen is they collected almost millions of phone records and access to people's online interactions and phone records, basically anything you can do on your phone. So looking at millions over the course of 5 years, so either the NSA is the most efficient government organization that's ever existed, or they've been doing this a lot longer than 5 years, in my opinion.
Well, I thought this NSA thing started under President Bush. That was the impression I got.
Right.
And it just continued over on with Obama and got discovered during Obama. It wasn't something that he started.
Well, I've seen a lot of news networks. Sorry to cut you off again, Shade. A lot of news networks are kind of criticizing Obama for it, and I've seen a lot of people just criticize Obama. You know, thanks, Obama.
Oh, trust me, I've seen plenty of it around here.
And going back to that interview he did earlier in the week, I think it was at the Tonight Show. He was on there and he talked about a couple of this stuff. And basically, one of the things that he stated was that they had already planned to openly talk about what the NSA was doing, and that's basically the story they're going with. And you know, it's not anything different.
We were going to tell you about it.
You know, it's okay you found out this way.
No, it's like you catch your spouse cheating on you, and it's like, I was gonna tell you about it. Yeah, that's fantastic.
And the way the
under the assumption we were in an open relationship. Oh.
I find myself reading a lot of news on a website called techdirt.com, which, you know, they don't actually talk about a lot of tech, but they've been, in the last couple months, addressing a lot of articles devoted towards the whole Edward Snowden NSA surveillance thing, and I agree with a lot of the points they're making, and one of the things that they said in this article was, don't insult our intelligence, Obama, because we know that you weren't planning on telling us. That's... That basically what flat out said, there's no domestic spy program, what do you call it?
Here's an interesting point, though. I don't even think it was up to him to decide what to tell.
Yeah.
So that's how.
That's kind of the point I was making earlier.
Pretty much the power of the president is, because if you grandfather this sort of super secret organization, you know. Well, have fun with that.
Yeah, that's actually very true. A lot of people blame Obama for a lot of things here. And trust me, living in America in a very conservative area of the state, I hear a lot of gripe against him, but it always seems to me that he wants to do good things, it's just that he never gets to do good things. And it's always Congress's fault in a lot of cases.
I might be a little biased in saying this being Canadian, but he gets ripped on a lot for his Obamacare program, and you know, I understand what he's trying to do with that, and I think it has some positive effects. I couldn't imagine, again, very biased, I couldn't imagine having to live off of the private healthcare system, having to build your own insurance, because I mean, your health shouldn't be open to something that's a for-profit organization, right?
Well, living in America and doing exactly that for the longest time, well, you get kind of used to it, although you do get scared when anything gets wrong with you, because you know that you're going to have to pay out the butt. Yeah. I mean, even an ambulance will cost you $500.
You got to understand, you know, what you're saying is completely true. I mean, there are villages living in Africa without clean drinking water for their entire life. They're used to that. So America, in many ways, is kind of a third world country. It's kind of sad.
Thanks.
The way they're used to having their private healthcare system. As much as I'm fairly opposed to,
I'm opposed to it too. It's just that it's not that bad if you're in the system.
So basically, kind of my opinion on the whole NSA thing is I'm not really shocked that they're doing it, but I'm kind of shocked at how many people seem to care, and just no matter how many times people like get upset about it, or people try to, like, a lot of the congressmen, if you've noticed, have been attacking the NSA, and just how little say that they have over it, because the NSA is kind of the opinion right now that, well, we're doing it now, we're not going to stop doing it anytime soon, so just get used to it, is basically what they're saying. And I'll be perfectly honest, I'm someone that really values my privacy, like, a lot, to the point that if I was living in the US, I probably would have sold my phone. Because it just, the idea of it does not make me comfortable. No, I don't have anything to hide. I'm not doing anything illegal, but I like to value my own privacy, and for that reason, I probably wouldn't even be anywhere near an Xbox One, but that's a completely different story.
That's such a nonsense argument anyway. You must have something to hide.
You know, I had this argument with my coworker the other day, and he was he was laughing at me because he's like, "Oh, you got nothing to hide. You don't have to worry about it." And I was just like, "Value your opinion or your privacy, man. Like, it's really not okay to have people watching you at all times. I mean, anyone who's read the book 1984 can see how far it goes.
You don't actually have to read the book because
that book is double plus good.
Yeah,
and you know,
plus plus.
And one thing I like bringing up a lot is, where do you draw the line? I mean, once that they have the security around, yeah, you may not be doing anything bad, but what are they doing with that information? Where do they stop? Maybe they start imposing the stupidest law ever, and now you have no control over whether or not you don't want it or not. Where does it stop? Where are you going to stop?
If you have watchers, who watches the watchers? The watch have to watch the watchers, but the watchers can't be watched by the watched.
So are you saying that they're taking what we watch and making us think what we watch is what we're watching, to think what we watch is what we watched? I think.
No. What's that? No. I'm saying that for that to work in a basic human principle, then everybody has to be able to watch everybody. But they living in their super secret cellar with the people that are quote unquote trustworthy, and they are deciding what is valuable information and what is not valuable information, and who has terrorist eyes and who is brown, and what are the buzzwords. The president must die or something is the buzzword, and they need roadies too. By the way, it's not just us. They need roadies to read all your chat scripts,
right?
Because I can't imagine that. Their great programmers are working right now, finding the ultimate way to sift through the garbage.
Right, and I believe I've read articles in the past of people who've gotten arrested because they had a phone call that had something to do with bomb or terrorist or something like that, and people, suddenly their doors getting busted down. Now, excuse me for a second, we can cut out this part, but the cat is clawing at my closet.
We're not gonna cut that out. We're gonna keep that.
Now that my closet door's open, I'll go.
Going back to the whole NSA thing, President Obama's involvement in that and whatnot, it's actually kind of funny. I was watching The Daily Show the other day, and they brought up an interesting point. A lot of Congress is, getting angry at the whole thing, and there was actually strong bipartisan support in, defunding that part of the NSA to stop the spying programs and whatnot. However, there was also strong bipartisan support in not allowing that happen. So you finally get these Democrats and Republicans together in Congress to help each other, which is a rare as white buffalo unicorn. But then you get the same strong bipartisan support on the other side. So it's like you have these two white buffalo unicorns that basically are killing each other. So, but in the end, they didn't stop the program because the bipartisan support, in order to keep the program alive, killed the other bipartisan support to stop it from happening.
And call me a cynic, but I'm questioning, whose pockets are being lined by which corporations, which are,
You're not being a cynic there. That's just plain a fact. You got lobbyists, you got corporations, you got rich people on top of the hill. That's just the reality of it all, man.
I know that. I'm just saying that people might call me a cynic.
And I'm the resident optimist, and I'm just saying that flat out. That's just what happens.
Oh, that's why I said that, actually. You're the one calling me a cynic. But welcome to U.S. politics, Cass. Yeah, we're gonna talk. You want to say something more about it, Sarah? Do you got any more?
I could say a lot on this topic because I have a pretty lengthy opinion.
And if I would go on about everything that's wrong with the U.S. government,
I'm the same way. But 90% of our viewers are probably from the U.S., so we should kind of.
No. They actually annoy because they know this. If they're listening to us, they're probably progressively minded, and they're not some weird redneck. Whining about them gays getting married. Oh no, that will take away all their ability as human beings.
Then all of a sudden we get extreme backlash because it turns out our entire viewing audience was these right-wing, redneck types. You support the gays.
If they were, I would quit the radio that day if I found out that that's what that was. But according to YouTube statistics, we have supposedly 5 viewers from across Europe, 1 in Australia, 3 or 4 in the US, and like 2 in Canada. So 1 viewer from France, and somebody from Sweden who tuned in for about 5 seconds and then left. But this is going off of 1 video from like a month ago.
That was because he skipped to the part where Emma was saying something, and I was like, that voice is so repulsive. Very good.
Yes, whenever I open my mouth, I offend many, many people. Especially Swedish people.
Poor Swedish people.
However,
anybody.
I love Sweden. You know, you gave us PewDiePie, and I thank you for that.
No comment.
I take it you're not as much of a fan.
No comment.
That is the great talk show.
No comment. I've got nothing to say. Nothing.
So I heard something else, so we actually got a question. Did somebody email?
Yes, we do. So let's jump to that for about 4.5 seconds. Just kidding.
We have to milk that first and introduce us and tell us how it happened and the origin stories, everything.
Make cheese out of that milk.
Mr. Anonymous, and the icon picture I see there is a small shaded gray circle with sunglasses on it, so very stealthy, dark, and mysterious. Keep that in mind.
Yahoo! Thank you for these glorious changes to our tumblers.
So this is what he says. Hi, this is for the talk show. I love the show. I would like to know how to avoid the friend zone. I have a bad record with this kind of stuff, and any help you could offer would be a great help. Also, any ideas for a first date? Thanks! ! Space dash anonymous.
Oh,
does this person watch our show at all?
I'm gonna go off the assumption that maybe they do. There's things to love in the show. Don't judge. Don't judge.
I'm just saying we're not the best when it comes to relationships.
Well, you know what? Maybe we can. I'll throw out my opinion first of all. When it comes to avoiding the friend zone, I think often people misvalue the value of just communication. Because if the other person in question does not really know what's going on, then how can you really expect them to just assume that they know what you're thinking, right? So just kind of laying out, if you're interested in the person, then, you know, sometimes it's better to just lay it out there and just say you're interested and just flat out ask them out on a date. Because if they don't know that you're interested, they don't know that you want to go on a date, then they don't really know what's going on in your head. Sometimes they just might not be interested. Maybe they know what's going on and they kind of go to the friend zone, but just because they're kind of subtly just letting you know that they're not really that interested, maybe they just want you as a friend. And, you know, quite honestly, it can be better in the long run to have someone as a friend and not anything closer, because there's lots of things that you get out of a friendship that you can't really get out of an intimate relationship.
Okay, yeah, my gut answer to this was, because friend zone is such an internety word.
Yeah.
My gut answer to this is you don't. Because if you end up having a relationship, hopefully they're also a friend. But I guess what they're meaning is like, oh, I don't think of you that way, Gary. You're like my best friend. And then it's like, oh, no! I've been in love for you for 6 years, and now I know this. It's all been for nothing. No!
It's like it's being proverbially stomped in the heart. I hate you're like my brother. It's just like, I am no one's brother.
You see, I have 2 brothers, actually.
I'm an only child, so yeah.
Wait, you had that, Emma?
I'm jealous. I'm jealous.
You're like my brother? Did you actually get that?
So, my second reaction to this, maybe you could go all prehistoric on them, grab the nearest blunt object, beat them over the head, and drag them back to your cave where you have your way with them.
Best idea ever.
Such is the law of nature.
Yep.
Now, of questionable legality, perhaps, but efficient. While you may spend the rest of your days in jail and you won't see the future resulting child ever, mission accomplished, I would think.
Hey, we're on Pregnant Stallion Radio. The sky's the limit here.
The sky's the limit.
I actually got a serious answer to this. Can I do,
okay, all right. Let's give that a shot. Kind of different, but
we can do that.
What is this serious in which you speak of?
Okay.
Using your babbling as a springboard here, as in you make your intentions known. But if your intention from the get-go is, this is a person I would date, but not actually be a friend with, if that's sort of your approach, then that has to be on your wrist from the get-go. You don't say, hi, I would like to be your friend. You say, hello there.
Well, the impression...
It's not very serious, but,
Okay.
I'm saying it's saying something about your mindset when you're that worried about the friend zone.
Yeah. Actually, Shade has a good point.
The impression I get from Shade's point when he says, I don't want to be this person's friend, I'd rather date them and not be their friend. If that's kind of the thing you're jumping to, then it isn't quite such a good thing to base a relationship around. If you don't want to be someone's friend, then you're not really worth being in a relationship either. I hope that was just aim and ice.
Yeah, but me. I don't really see. I can't really relate to this personally, but I understand. I don't want to judge people who just want a particular sort of relationship and not a friendship.
Because the kind of impression I get, someone in let's assuming a good relationship, you should be able to listen to the other person. You should want to go out and do things with them, and being around them shouldn't be tiring. And that's the type of things you get from a friendship. Now, the desire to want more than a friendship, that's all right. But if you just absolutely don't want to waste time being friends with them, then you're kind of being a little what's the word?
A jerk.
Yeah.
Jerk?
You know what? A jerk. Because if you don't want to be friends with someone, but you'd rather you just want to have sex with them, you're not worth their time. So you kind of have to take things hand in hand.
I got some things to say. I've been raising my hand until my Skype crashed.
You can lower your hoof now, student.
Okay, cool, awesome. Okay, going back to what Shade said before I crashed and had to get back on.
Right.
I was going to say he did have a good point in saying the approach towards someone is very important. If you are attracted to someone in a way that you want to date them and eventually have sexual relations and go farther than that, it does you both better if you actually kind of wear that on your sleeve. Not like blatantly. You just don't go, "Hi, I like you. Can I have sex with you?" Not like that, but definitely showing that you have attraction, that you want to talk to them in a more serious manner. Letting your body language speak for itself, being able to, give them a nice touch on the shoulder, touch on the arm, because, touch is very important in that situation. And I kind of came in when you were talking about, friends and whatnot. I got a little bit of that, and I can understand where, yes, if you're going to be in a relationship, you would want to be able to kind of be that friend to them, to be able to hang out with them and whatnot. But I don't think having that attraction and necessarily wanting sex from them is a bad thing to have, as long as you are understanding that if you want that kind of relationship, that you're going to have to give and take a little bit, and they're going to give and take a little bit too.
Well, you have to take things hand in hand, honestly.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually want to add something to that, and also adding a stipulation that not necessarily the relationship does not necessarily equate to wanting sex or whatever, but it does involve a sort of romantic interest, perhaps. And if you are going with that approach, I think the common problem is that you place yourself in that quote-unquote friend zone by purposely aiming for that sort of I'm your friend and I'm not interested in you, and then they file you in that spot and you can't get out of that. And that's something that you primarily do, I think, psychologically, because you're afraid and you don't have the courage to do it from the get-go.
Exactly.
So you have to learn from your friend zonings with your future relationship, and accept at the same time that you didn't necessarily destroy all your relationship that you already established. Because in the end, you kind of end up with the relationship with people that you are supposed to have with them. You know, you might get like a shaky start or something, but in the end, you get what you're gonna end up with anyway. So that's actually a good thing. But now, next time, you're gonna avoid setting yourself up for disappointment and emotional turmoil.
Yep. Also, remember, rejection is a good thing. It sucks. It hurts, but it's a good thing because that's how you figure out who will be good for you and who will not.
All right, so next part of the question was any ideas for a first date. Now, the date I had a couple weeks ago, we just went out, had something to eat at some place. I mean, it wasn't a fancy dinner. It wasn't even a sit-down dinner. It was delicious. It was, I don't remember.
Pancakes?
And then we just, like, you know, we went to a movie, and that was about it. But, you know, never misjudge the value of just simply going to a movie because it's simple. It's, you know, something that you can both be interested in. And you also have the kind of opportunity to gauge how things are. And, you know, you can make your move, put your arm around them, you know. See, I can tell you through my date there was a lot of snuggling going on. I wasn't paying attention. I was completely wrapped up against him. And, you know,
that touches me in my heart.
Aww.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with Sarp there. I mean, it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, the date is going to be about you two hanging out. So as long as you're not, like, taking them to an underground cockfight, unless that's what she's into, or he. I'm not saying anything here. But, you know, just having fun. Just having fun.
Wait a minute. A cockfight, that actually is a chicken fight.
What'd you think I was saying, Shade?
That's perfect. It works in every way.
They have those?
I actually to break the trend here. I don't really like movies for social outings because if there's one thing I hate is when another person tries to say something during a movie. It's like, oh, so nice that we gathered here together to spend 3 hours in this room and not say a word.
I mean, the best thing to do is kind of find something that you both like. So, you know the person well enough, find something that you're both interested in and do it that way. And one thing I've always enjoyed is just kind of a walk through a park or something like that because you actually get time to get to know each other. You can talk about things and if they're into it, you know, you can hold their hands, things like that. So a movie is good for kind of a first date because you've still got kind of a little bit of attention maybe. But the thing about a movie is that you're not really talking to each other. You're not really even looking at each other. You're focusing on that screen. So good for the first bit of tension. But yeah, like Shade said, there's definitely things
there is an advantage to the movie, though.
Right.
There is an advantage to the movie. Even though you're not talking to each other during the movie, you're still sitting right next to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if there is going to be any sort of cuddling, kinesthetic relationship going on, that's the perfect environment for that to happen. You know, putting the arm around them, moving your leg in a little bit, kind of creating a little tension, getting it kind of works. I'm not saying like cut the hole in the popcorn bag. I'm just saying, you know, getting close to them.
I'm just saying for a first date, I don't think it's ideal. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I personally like walking in a park is good, and then going back home to either of the two people's home, unless they have horrible parents in the same building. Fortunately, I don't have that. And then cooking a meal, home-cooked meal, and then you can always end up on the couch watching something, and then it's a nice cozy environment without other people all around them. Yes, you might not have a couch yet, sir, but
I actually do, believe it or not, because you know I didn't just move out to some empty building. I moved in with somebody else who already had a house that had been there for a year because he offered me a room. So nice advantage to that.
Oh my!
Yeah, one of the things I definitely enjoy is you don't have to have some formal date type thing that involves spending money. One of my favorite things that I think I've done so far is I came home from work, long day at work, and then we just snuggled on the couch and watched a movie. And then, what's wrong with that? It's you get the chance to be very close to each other. I mean, you don't have to worry about other people being around, so you still get the closeness factor, and very private too. So
maybe
So
it's
sparks
the
do
fact.
fly.
Maybe it's the fact that we have one question and I want to completely optimize this, but I'm getting the impression, even though, for the record, PSA, if you add more details to your questions, you will actually be able to give really specific answers. But I do get the impression that there's this tension about the first date. And actually, people don't really date like that nowadays so much. What you do is you hang out.
yeah,
And you don't call it a date. You just spend time together, and that way it's nice and organic and not rehearsed. Because in the old days, the date was, it's like, oh, you have the dinner, the guy pays, and if it's two guys, then you kill each other and you get killed by the priest or something. I don't know how it works.
how I've kind of found a comfortable thing. I'll add my input here since maybe you guys don't really know. But when it's two people of the same sex dating, basically whoever's the one that asks the other person out on the date is the one who pays. And that's kind of a comfortable thing to go with.
People, see, you don't... The worst thing is when people go American. You know, you go Dutch. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Shane invented the going Dutch part.
That whole ooh, I'm so chivalrous. And now I've bought you dinner and I can get my way with you later. That whole system is kind of silly. You know, that whole dating thing is just silly.
The whole formal. You know what? Quite honestly, you should just be able to do things that you're both comfortable with and just be together.
I see. Nobody else gets to. This is a beautiful thing when you're two people having an interpersonal relationship with just the two of you. It's beautiful because nobody gets to sit there and go like, "Oh, you can't have a date at a comic shop." Yes, you can. If you both like to go to the comic shop and look for comics together, that's your dates. You don't just don't call it a date. Then it gets a little bit weird, maybe potentially. You just go to the comic shop, and if you then like to Google at elderly people crossing the roads or something, then you can do that together. Wonderful.
That's my fetish.
Oh.
Whoa.
You're into that, okay. I knew there's always someone. I was making this up, but I knew there was someone.
I'm kidding, by the way, but I just had to say that.
Oh. Are you sure you're kidding? Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I get enough old people in my daily life. Thank you.
I do too. Well, I think we ran that one into the ground.
Well, you know what? We had a healthy conversation about it and relationships in general, and I think that came out pretty good.
Yeah, I think this is quite a chock full episode. I mean, we got politics, we got relationships, we got, a lot of stuff in. It was quite full for an episode. And you were worried, Sarf.
Yeah, well,
He's always worried. He's Sarf. Hey, Sarf, what is it we're discussing next week again?
Let me think for a minute.
The MLP.
Yeah, next week we'll do our MLP Chan special, which we promised this week, but,
Hooray! I know almost nothing about MLP Chan.
So hopefully we'll have a bit of advertisement, and we'll get a second guest, because we really only had one this week. Really not much to it.
Here now.
I'll advertise later on, and we'll kind of get things together. We'll figure things out. But we'll just kind of have a conversation about the community, what's going on. One of our guests is going to be one of the more popular artists, Red Star, who also just happens to be my roommate.
Well, there you go.
It all works together.
Will he be cooking pancakes?
No,
pancakery is very...
It'll be interesting trying to fit two people into this closet, though. I'm actually not sure how I'm going to do that. But
that will be interesting. That will be that proximity kinetic relationship Emma was talking about.
Hey, don't diss it, man. Touch is very important.
I'm not dissing it. I'm saying, that's gonna happen when you're in the closet together with a special guest. That it's like,
remember, kids, a good first date for everyone is to be stuck in a closet. Because you have no choice but to touch each other.
And you have to come out of the closet afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
How often did they make that joke yet?
Too many times.
Yeah.
Several hundred times. I think we could do it several hundred more.
Now it's a running joke.
Ha 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 ha.
Ha ha ha.
Which means it's only funny to us. And our 2 selected cult followers. Well, that's that. And, so would discuss that community in particular, but I guess we can include Chan-type or foreign-type communities in general. So bring them up. Tell us about your horrible online existence and how it improves your life and doesn't ruin it. At you go Crusaders Talk at gmail.com.
Crusaders Advice at tumblr.com.
Of course.
Send it to Crusaders Advice at Tumblr at gmail.com. Oh wow!
Let me just
Crusaders Advice at gmail.com.
Once more, just in case.
Crusaders Advice at gmail.com.
Oh, beautiful.
Say it with me now.
Advice Crusaders Pregnant Stallion at hotmail.yahoo.twitter.
Pregnant Crusaders at stallionadvice.com.
Stallionadvice.com. See, that whole context, Pregnant Crusaders at stallionadvice.com.
Excuse me, I need some advice concerning stallions by Crusaders of pregnant. Cutting it right back to what we discussed before the show, the reason that religious people have something against gay people because they can't create holy soldiers. It's coming back right to
I actually had someone ask me once in an honest conversation, have I ever considered that being gay is by nature's standards wrong because I can't reproduce? Like I'm hindering our species. No, I haven't.
The only thing that we're missing on this world is more people. They are completely right.
I'd like to think that we as a society have, or as a people, have evolved from being nature's chicken. Yeah.
Well, actually, there's an interesting thing about homosexuality. There's a species of ape, the bonobo, that avoids all sorts of violence, shenanigans, and whatnot through the use of sexual means, and that's including both female and male representatives. So instead of fighting and killing each other, they just each other. And the same thing has been seen through nature, like penguins and stuff like that. So I think homosexual people serve as a means of peace as opposed to, reproduce.
No, it's actually a natural phenomenon. When a woman gives birth to another child, then she's grown a little bit immune to the male hormones, and as a result, the child will be more effeminate. So the more children come out of somebody, the more gay inclined they would be, which suggests that the more people society has, which is proven by today's society, the more gay people there will be. And this is something that's true for pretty much every animal species. And so it's very natural, but...
that sounds dangerously close to the reasoning my parents had when I heard them having a conversation when I was 12 years old that said, we have 3 sons, one of them's bound to be gay, and you know what? It must be Cameron.
Your name's Cameron?
Yeah, I thought you knew that.
I know.
You just outed him. He didn't say it was him.
Well, see, I know Amonice's real name. His name is Chris. And I won't say Shade's
crap.
name
Everyone knows my name now.
Horrible.
This is terrible. The NSA is going to come in and bust down my door. I hope you're happy, Sar.
Oh, believe me, they already know. Nothing that we can say here is something they already... Fun fact.
My name is Irish.
Fun fact, we actually have 100 viewers right now. It's just 99 of them are actually with the NSA.
Oh, lovely. Waiting for you to slip up. But I was going to say something because I've actually known someone who is very much at the mind like, oh, I'm hopeless and terrible as a human being because I'm not reproducing currently. That's the purpose of life. Blah, blah, blah. It's this sort of strange religious Darwinism that makes no sense because because you got to understand that philosophical aspect of Darwinism is elevating the how to a why, whereas in actual nature there is no why. That is a man-made construct. So the whole idea of like, oh, you're defeating the human purpose. Why should we continue to exist even?
And you know, the thing is, being gay doesn't really hinder you at all. Like, I would choose not to have children, and again, I'm 19, I don't think this might not be a concrete answer.
But same straight people, if they're committing crimes against nature when they're masturbating or doing oral or using condoms.
See, I would choose not to have children because I don't want children, but I'm 19 again, that's not going to stay the same. But being gay doesn't actually stop you from being able to reproduce. There's such things as surrogate mothers, there's adoption.
Artificial insemination.
There's so many, that's basically...
hello, there are 16 million buildings around the world overloading with children without parents.
Yeah, you can adopt too.
That is so, except for Russia, because in Russia you have to pretend that gay people don't exist, which in itself is
and Africa,
people from the U.S. But no, see, this is an actual law. You cannot spread "quote unquote" gay propaganda in Russia.
Yeah,
so
I know.
Basically, like you can't talk about gay people because they don't actually exist. So what happens when you go to court and it's what am I being fined for? Oh, saying gay things, and you just said them yourself. So now, hypocrisy.
Gay people do not exist.
So yeah,
you just said gay people, so therefore
to be gay.
I think, therefore I am.
And there are African countries where that's a death sentence, actually.
Well, you got it. Or...
I don't doubt it. Actually, I wanted to say something way back, but you guys kind of continued on. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say.
I was going to say something too.
I'm just saying the social. I remember now. Two things. The sociological benefit of gay people is phenomenal because they help produce, violence and promote peace. Well, unless if you live in a very intolerant area. However, the second thing I was going to say, if mankind was meant to only reproduce, we would be insects because there's like 10 billion insects for like every one human on this earth. They're really, really good at it reproducing. And we kind of suck at it comparatively. Just saying.
But the thing is, and I forget who mentioned this before, maybe it was Shade, but we have evolved as a species to the point that we don't abide by these rules of not natural selection, but these rules of nature that these other animals... Well, no.
You're flying to yourself.
Our natural gift is our intelligence and ability to create technology. By the fact that we are speaking over the internet shows how evolutionary powerful we are.
Well, I want to say two things to that. First, that it's actually not defying nature, it's embracing nature because we're also evolving in a sociological way. And then, secondly...
That's true.
It was 2,000 years ago, and before that, we were actually, in this aspect, far more progressive, and we degenerated because of the Vatican. And we needed holy soldiers to defeat the evil heathens who have a slightly different interpretation of the same religion. So now
I understand you have like kind of a thing against that. I understand that completely. I'm not going to say anything, against your views, but back in those days, having like a central religious ideology was very beneficial to the coherence of the region, because otherwise people would kill each other more than they did.
Yeah, but
and I'm not saying they didn't kill each other a lot. It just helped keep things together.
I'm just talking about the Dark Ages in general propagating this idea that they decided that homosexuality is now evil, and we need soldiers, and that's where it all started. Before then, we had no such problem at all with that, because why would there be problems with it? Can anybody have any sort of reason beyond but God for why this would be a bad thing? There is none. And all the sort of made-up answers after the fact are all based upon the but God. So there is actually no real reason why it would be bad. So,
well, Again, I think that's more pointing towards the people in charge of said religion as opposed to religion itself.
Yeah,
I know
you know what? Amonitis
progressive
brings up a good point. A lot of the things, and I think some people have trouble with this quite often when it comes to the Bible. As someone who used to be a...
Hold on, Sarf. Sarf, hold on.
Yeah, I'm waiting patiently. What's going on?
Sarf, hold on.
I
say hold on because your connection is messing up.
Yeah, I see that.
Don't say anything. Give it a moment.
Wasn't planning on it.
Breathe. And then, of course, yes, it's about spreading the ignorance among the people. I know that. Everybody has a reason for being ignorant. We have to challenge ourselves and be enlightened. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see. Is your connection fixed now? What do you think?
How does it sound? Yeah, it looks like it. So, basically, what I was going to go over is that I think what a lot of people fail to realize, as someone who used to be former Christian, I'm not anymore, for...
You're cured!
A lot of... Oh, please don't do that.
Shade, come on, we don't want to go there.
We're going to try to be completely accepting.
Yeah,
I'm just kind of on the middle.
Since I'm very religious. I'm actually very, very
I got that impression. And you know, for me...
no sense of humor!
I know, I understand what you... For me, if someone came up to me and asked me if I was religious, I wouldn't be able to give a yes or no answer because I don't really have an answer to that question. It's extremely complicated. But as I was saying, what a lot of people don't realize, and I'm trying to be general about the statement and not seem ignorant, but what a lot of people don't realize is that there was a huge historical aspect to the Bible, and a lot of it was written by, you have to understand, by a person, by an organization at that time, so that it was relevant to the people of that time. It was meant as kind of a guideline. So
exactly. That's
there's in the same section that says thou shalt not lay with another man, which is really the only part that says that you can't, like, there's no gay no gay people at all. The same section says it's okay to beat your wife. And that same Bible also says that divorce is not okay. So at the same point, you can't be gay and you can't have divorce. Now, where's the church's stance on divorce? Now, let's think about that.
Growing as plants at the end of the garden, shellfish, beards, yes. And that's the Old Testament. And another thing is that at the time it was written, actually, there wasn't anything against homosexuals. So it actually is quite easy to believe that was a misinterpreted translation. Because actually, I believe it was something against pedosexuality, actually, because at the time the word is the same. And since there's nothing against homosexuality, there is no reason to use the ambiguous word when there is only one logical interpretation for it. You know?
And there's also another point. Now, from a religious perspective here, I'm not trying to sound preachy at all. It's just a little difficult not to.
Okay.
But according to the Bible, the reason that there was a Jesus Christ was to get away from the Old Testament and the old ways. And the reason that, according to the Bible, he died was to relieve all those old rules, all those old guidelines, to have something that was more adaptive, more modernized, basically. He laid down a set of new rules while still kind of abiding the old ones that simplified it to a point that was relevant. Am I still with you guys?
Now you are. Yeah.
Okay. So, he simplified things to the point that it was still relevant. So, for those of you, assuming you're not Jewish, for those of you that, or if you're religious and you kind of follow the New Testament, the Old Testament, some of the guidelines aren't relevant. The point of the Old Testament being there is to gain from the stories, the anecdotes and things like that, but not to actually take from the guidelines, because that was the point of the New Testament, was to get away from that. So this entire thing that says you can't be homosexual and you're allowed to stone your wife, obviously does not apply anymore.
But it was never there. It never applied.
Well, it basically... Yeah, okay.
I just explained that, so
you have to understand these things, the historical relevance of these things and why they were laid down for that time, and the reason that there was the New Testament was to kind of release a lot of the older and irrelevant things of the second, or the first. And I think a lot of people fail to realize that because they're taking the wrong parts, and this is an argument a lot of atheists use, the picking and choosing thing, but it happens quite often.
I don't actually quite agree with that, because I think what it actually is people are told, like, this is bad, and then they retroactively sort of find a way to interpret somewhere in a book, somewhere somebody said it, and it basically comes down to do what you will, and it's God's will.
Yeah, and, I mean, this isn't to religious people in general. This is, I mean, people in general do this. It's the unfortunate way of things.
People being lame.
People being lame. And I think the reason that I stopped going to church and I kind of got away from that is because there's a lot of people that don't take the meaning of what a Bible or what a holy book is supposed to be. They don't take it how it's meant to be. I still keep my old Bible. I have it, actually, it's sitting above my head. Because I can admire the idea behind it, I can admire the words, the interpretation of it, and just what it was mainly supposed to be, and that was to make people good and positive and to follow these positive values. And unfortunately, a lot of people just don't understand that. A lot of people take the wrong parts of this, and God.
It's easier to hate.
Amen, Isis, you seem awfully quiet right now.
Yeah, I'm just kind of chuckling at the fact that we've gone over politics, sex, and religion in the same podcast.
Wow.
It's doing everything.
That's pretty amusing, actually. Do you have any input to this at all, Amen, Isis? I'm trying to remain very general, so I hope nothing I'm saying comes across as insulting.
Oh, no. I'm actually liking what you're saying here.
Right,
you know?
That's good.
I'm glad.
Jesus says don't be a jerk.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is, of all the things I've heard, that is the best summarization of the Bible in general, is Jesus says don't be a jerk. Because, I mean...
That's always relevant.
Don't be a jerk.
That's always relevant.
And when you take any religious book in general, you know, the Quran, whatever other books are there, I think they kind of have the same meaning behind them, just with different cultural relevance.
See, this is kind of the thing. I don't have anything against Christianity, because at the basis of Christianity as a word, I take it to interpret following the basic philosophy of Jesus Christ, and anything else is just, you know... See, what I want people to do is make up their own minds. And organized religion is kind of like a paradox, like the music industry. It's horribly tainted in its very, very, very definition when you combine it. You don't organize religion. Jesus says that people shouldn't follow me, basically. It's like you don't copy what I say. You think for yourself and try not to be a jerk. And then what you choose to believe, it should be based upon your own sane mind and your own emotional wishes and what you want from life, and then you make your philosophy based on that. So it's like I have nothing against spirituality and so forth. I have a problem with people just preaching their nonsense and their political religionist views.
You know, it was interesting.
So ancient.
Amen, Isis, I'll let you talk in a second. Sorry. I had a conversation once on, it was the Mormon chat website. If you're familiar with that, you can go onto this website where there's people, the Mormons, sitting at their big computer desk in their fancy, clean white offices. Ha! And, you know, I kind of wanted to hear what they had to say about this, but I asked them a couple of questions based on, first of all, homosexuality and what they thought of that. And one of the first things that struck me as odd is that they instantly compared themselves to being disabled. They told me that they were disabled, and they compared being disabled to being homosexual. So they basically laid out that homosexuality was a disability. And then they went forth, and I kind of asked them if, and this was just kind of a curiosity question. I wasn't trying to catch them for anything. But I asked them, when they see somebody else in their religion, do they view them the other religion as wrong? Because obviously that's kind of, now, trying to be general, not insulting, but that's kind of a thing that goes hand in hand. If you're looking at your Bible, and it even says in the Bible, I am the one God and only God, and you will worship only me, something like that. But you kind of have to say that this is the truth.
Your God stuff.
And you can't really believe multiple religions at once, because there's a point where you get where they try to conflict each other a little bit. And for example, the Christian Bible says that you can't do things that the other ones encourage.
Interject for a moment before we go too far off, because you said something really interesting.
let me kind of get to my point.
Okay.
But
okay.
Sorry, I asked them if they viewed other people as wrong, and basically their opinion was I think they interpreted other people as being misguided.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, this was the words they said exactly, and then I told them that I was, because at the time I was still going to church, so I told them that I was Christian, and they said, I'm sure your God loves you. That was the word they used exactly. Which completely threw me off, because it's like, I mean, your religion's a little different, but aren't you still basically Christian? Isn't it the same God? And they went, oh, yeah. Then that was it. Anyways, yeah, go back to your point.
I was just going to expose the hypocrisy in somebody's mind when they're saying, like, when they're equating homosexuality with sort of a disability or something.
It blew my mind.
See what it does? It transfers the responsibility for the hatred.
Mm-hmm.
Because what they're actually saying is, like, it's the whole, like, hate the sin, not the sinner thing.
Yes.
It's like, we don't hate you, even though we know you're going to hell and suffer eternally for your wrongdoings.
That's the main reason why I stopped going to church was...
But the core of that is actually, of them believing that, is their own hatred. Possibly for themselves, but I don't want to be a psychoanalyst for something so general. But
right.
It tends to be that the more homophobic people are, the more homosexual they secretly are under the altar. So...
And, you know... But I'll let Amonisis speak in a second. But there was actually a big religious figure in the U.S. where he ran the very notorious, the homosexual,
what's this wrong, sir?
rehabilitation camps. So it was a camp that basically made you straight. He turned out to be gay. He turned out to be gay. There was a senator a couple years ago, a U.S. senator, completely anti-gay senator, like, he was completely outspokenly anti-gay, got caught giving some guy head in a bathroom.
I have 3 people like that. It happens all the time. It's the normal thing.
It's apparently. Anyways, Amonisis, go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was just kind of listening to you guys. Let's see. I was actually thinking of a couple different things.
Right.
Sort of on the same track as... what you said a while back about how religions, you know, a lot of them kind of have very similar core messages.
Yes,
and
that's a point that's brought up a lot, yeah.
Yeah, that reminds me of 2 things. One is I like how the Hindu religion actually approaches other religions, actually. What they kind of do is that they see other people's religions and other interpretations of religions as not being wrong or being bad in any way, but actually just an extension on Hinduism by the use of using their prophets and deities as another avatars for their main one, Krishna, which is really kind of cool because it's like if you're a Hindu, you see another Christian, you basically think of them as just being another type of Hindu that just calls himself a Christian. And in a sense, that's a very, kind of involving as opposed to exclusive. I like that.
One of the religions I respect the most, I think, is Buddhism, because it's not a religion. And the idea behind Buddhism is basically to follow the teachings of Buddha. So he doesn't become a prophet. It isn't like some God thing.
It really depends on what kind of Buddhism that you're talking about, because there are types that are very religious.
But I mean,
but on the whole, it definitely follows the philosophy.
From what I know, basically, what Buddha said was they don't have a belief in an afterlife or anything like that, because he said there's no point in trying to understand something that we're not going to understand.
Well, that's the Zen Buddhism, the philosophical spiritualism.
Right.
So,
and I mean, I respect it a lot because they take the value, like the main values that I wish a lot more people who were Muslim or Christian or what have you would take, and it's basically just the good values to do good unto other people. That's the idea that you're supposed to get behind religion. And I think a lot of people kind of miss that step.
Well, I think it's what Amo said, is that the whole thing is us versus them gets negated when you have a fail-safe in your religion that basically says, oh, there are other people too, and they don't have to die.
That was actually leading to my second thing. There's another religion out there, and one of my friends is part of this religion, and she's just like one of the sweetest people ever. It's called the Baha'i Faith, and it's actually I'm not entirely sure, so no one quote me on this, but it's something that came out of the Middle East, and it's sort of a offshoot of Islam and other Judeo-Christian trifecta right there, and it's really cool as a religion. There's only what they do is that they don't have one centric book. They have all the religious books in their churches and whatnot. I don't know what the buildings are called, and what they do is they believe that wisdom is universal, and that each person, each group, each thought process has a little bit of that wisdom behind it. So they look at books from Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and they teach it all during their religious practices and whatnot. And they believe that science and religion should go hand in hand, and that neither one should inhibit each other. So a good Baha'i follower can study, the universe, study physics and whatnot, and have extremely progressive views, and still be very religious at the same time, and never be conflicting, because one will always support the other.
It sounds actually like the Universalist Church in the U.S.
It kind of is, but there is still the sense that in the Baha'i faith, you still believe in one God. It's a monotheistic thing, but it's taking in wisdom from all sorts of views. It's really cool.
I kind of want to lay something out. I just had a sudden thought on something I said earlier.
Oh, yeah.
I just want to mention I don't hate Mormons at all.
No Mormon hate here.
Some of the nicest people I've ever met are Mormons, and I actually respect them a lot, because they are incredibly positive people, like insanely positive all the time, and I respect them a lot, because they do get the whole doing goodwill things to other people. Now, one of my old friends...
except for how they're sort of working with the government in the U.S. to destroy gay people for being
their
gay.
Stance, okay, with the exception of their stance on homosexuality, I respect the religion. That I don't, but... Anyways, going back to another point, I have a good friend I haven't talked to in a long time, so an old friend, who was a Mormon because he wasn't born a Mormon, he was not raised into it, but early in his life, his family was extremely, extremely poor. Like, his mother couldn't have a job, living off of welfare. He has 3 or 4 brothers. So these Mormons that go door to door, they came to, I guess it was a local church, they came to his house without preaching or anything, and basically they would show up month by month or every week or something like that. They'd show up with baskets of food, and they would start fixing everything in the house. Like, because the mother was disabled, so there was all the stuff that needed done, and they would not preach until a couple weeks after they had, like, helped his family get up on under their feet. So after that, it kind of became an indebted thing, I would think, almost. He went to church because he really respected these people that helped out his family so much, and he wanted to, kind of share that thing. So I respect that they do that, because not many, even Christian sects, will do that type of thing, and it's very positive. Even some of the door-to-door people.
I like the word you use, sects, because when it comes to Mormons and the J-Dubs, Jehovah's Witnesses, I do have to say that there is an... I'm all for, believe whatever you want, and but that... I'm not even gonna say anything about the preachy thing, because then almost every religion goes out the door.
Well, there's 2 sides to that thing.
But it's the cultist idea that I have a problem with, because it's like, if you're in that group, then you're basically forced into the rules, and when you're exiled, it's like everybody that you've known immediately cannot associate with you. It's really a cultist thing. I actually think that you're supposed to scrutinize the religions as much as you can, and you base what you believe on the signs that you're on your brain thinking, rather than believing by not thinking.
I agree. That was the main reason I stopped going to church. Not because I started kind of disagreeing with a few things, and it kind of got to the point where I kind of realized everything that I've been, basically what I believed was what I had been told to believe. I had not figured this stuff out for myself. It was, this is what we believe, this is what we do, and this is how you act. I've been told what to believe my entire life, and as soon as I stopped doing that, I think within a month, I had this insanely relieving feeling, because it was kind of like, I can figure things out for my own. Maybe I will start going back to church again, but I'm going to figure things out for my own. And maybe there is a God, but I think, quite honestly, I'd rather figure things out for myself. And bad things haven't started happening to me, so maybe that's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Independent thoughts.
Independent thought.
Magic.
And I think that kind of makes people in itself unique. Now, I'm not trying to preach at all. That's another point I was going to go back to. Though I hate the word preach. Because I can think of going through school, people lashed out at you, being a religious person, for even mentioning the word God. And then they drop down the word preach. Like, God, preach! And it happened a lot. Trying to have an honest conversation with someone based on, I think it was a historical debate. I think I mentioned the word God based on a very generalized, open-ended statement. I mentioned the word, I mentioned the Bible because obviously there's historical relevance, not just from a religious aspect. And people hated me for years up to the point after I graduated because I was preaching or something like that. But it's I want to have a conversation, and I mean that kind of thing happened a lot.
But
that actually kind of brings up a good point. It kind of shows how zealotism is not solely religious.
Thank you.
Seems like those atheists were also kind of hating on you for being religious.
It happened quite a lot.
Yeah, so it's not just, religious people that do this. It's zealotism. It's people who are closed-minded because that's what they've taught or that's what they see others as. You can be a great religious person, and you could be a, great non-religious person, and you can be the exact opposite. You could be a terrible religious person and a terrible non-religious person.
Yeah, it goes both ways. I agree.
People are defensive because when you think about it, it's not just religion exactly. Because if I offer some unsolicited advice or something, you can also get like, "Hey, don't preach at me." It doesn't have to be religious. I'm not trying to convert anyone. I'm just saying, like, well, maybe you shouldn't go outside when it's raining bullets. And I don't preach. Okay.
Kind of an older statement type thing, but there's a phrase, I guess. There's 3 things you don't talk about with a friend: religion, money, and politics. Now, I love having a good political
discussion. Be something of the new economy.
I like discussing politics, actually.
It used to be just politics and religion, but nowadays I think people have progressed a bit and are a bit more open.
I don't understand it myself.
Talk about that. I think we're also more selective about who we associate with, and you don't have to purposely get along with Uncle Dumbutt, who can't resist tearing you new one whenever you mention the current politics. So I think people are more forgiving when it comes to that, and are more actually capable of agreeing to disagree rather than using that as a slogan for pretending to take the high road. Nowadays, it's you can't really avoid it, and it's okay to talk about politics when you're a little bit more enlightened and you share your basic views. I think South right now is considering ending the show because we talked about everything under the sun. Yes, I knew it. I could sense it. You're typing it deeply to me.
We got politics, we got, relationships, we got
I'm
sex,
secretly
we got
dying of suffocation inside this closet because I'm in this cramped, foot-wide space, and I'm sweating like nothing.
Someone's got to get Sarf out of the closet.
I was going to say that, but I thought, no, it's so lame. We've already done that 3 times this episode.
Well, I saved the bullet for you, bro.
Oh, you're so fantastic, Emma. Oh, goodness, we really...
we took the conversation a good length today. I mean...
Well, I think you raised a few points that's so many cans of worms with Pandora's boxes inside them that just you keep going. There is a little bit of vitriol, but thankfully we didn't throw it at each other this time.
I think the 3 of us aren't so defensive on the topic. I mean, we have 3 very different points as far as politics and religion goes, so I think it worked well for a conversation.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're similar enough that we're not completely adverse to...
Well, I would use the more respectful enough that we're not going to start throwing at each other's faces, quite honestly.
Well, I think it just sort of proves that we can talk about these things without killing each other.
I think we can agree to disagree.
Yep.
Yeah, but we're not even disagreeing on most things. It's just details, really, if anything. Which also goes to show that you don't have to everybody be atheist or something. For the record, I don't even consider myself atheist because that's like an alignment or something. Atheism is like an answer. And by the way, I would answer with agnostic, so, but whatever.
Agnostic is like the lack of an answer.
No, it's like, on which side of the fence are you? And I say, there is no fence. It's a very Neo-like thing to say.
Yeah, you know what? I choose not to label myself really either. For a while I thought, maybe I'm just a deist. And basically what a deist is the belief in a god without organized religion. So the idea behind that is you can you have your own ideas and compile that too. Which works. And then after a while I still don't know.
I like that.
Yep.
I like that.
I believe that we're all the subconscious pieces of a universal brain that is known as God. And that everything around us is, in fact, God. You, I, and everything
See, that
else.
right there, I was just going to mention, that's called pantheism. Basically, it's kind of the belief that the higher power, for example, God, is like in the nature around you, in the space around you. It's the being of the universe, I suppose. If that is called pantheism.
I would argue that that's sort of, in a way, it's basically you're taking the laws of nature and you're anthropomorphizing them. That's what a lot of religions are doing anyway.
Yeah.
It's a nice idea to think that the laws of nature are actually looking out for your well-being, which in a way they are. They're just not doing it consciously.
Oh, I believe they are. I believe that everything is consciousness. That's why it's a little bit different than pantheism, because I think there is actually a strain of thought and,
well, pantheism, that goes
it.
along with, yeah. Because pantheism is the being or whatever, but it's sentient in nature, I suppose.
People at home, there's a made-up word for everything.
There is.
Well, if you think about it, everything's a made-up word.
That's kind of my point.
Yeah.
Gosh, Ammo, I'm not dissing
Therefore,
you.
it ceases to be.
I'm on your side.
It's scientific. It's not made up. It's scientific. Not that there's a lot of difference, but
that's higher points. Oh goodness. Oh, you were going somewhere, Sarge?
I think you could successfully say as our final point: science is the religion of making things up.
God. I think that was like the most controversial point yet.
No, okay, maybe not making things up, because you're basing it on the universe. You know what? I better stop that.
That makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
Stuff before we get further into dark territory.
You have been listening to the wonderful controversial debate topic on Pregnant Stallion Radio. We are the only radio with a 9-month delivery time.